After being a rabbi for more than 25 years, I thought that I heard every complaint possible. But last night I got a new one. Your sermon was too short. Well, in the spirit of Rosh Hashanah, and with the full process of tshuva, first, I apologize. Second, I want to promise you that it will never happen again. It's true, I didn't make it up. I want to invite you to go back in time. For those of us of a certain age, let's go back to an afternoon of our childhood. What do you remember? I remember children on bicycle riding down the block with no adult on sight. I remember kids playing soccer, probably in your case it would be baseball, unsupervised, arguing if it was a foul or a goal, and solve it themselves. I remember skinned knees, I have many scars, grass-stained jeans, and a promise of freedom. We went home when our mothers would call us, and then we waited a little bit longer. Think about our neighborhoods today. The silence is audible. Kids are safe in their homes. Their faces are illuminated not by the fading afternoon sun, but by the blue glow of a screen. In all measures, our children today are safer than they ever been in history, and yet reproduce a generation of children who suffer from anxiety, depression, fragility in a rate that never existed before. On one hand, we have them physically so safe, but emotionally, not so much. What went wrong? The social psychologist Jonathan Haidt wrote a wonderful book, The Anxious Generation. And in this book, he argues that unintentionally, we made two colossal contradictory mistakes. The first one was that we felt that the world around us was not safe, so we overprotected our children. We bubble wrapped them against any kind of danger outside. No more free play. And at the very same time, we underprotected them as we gave them an unsupervised 24/7 access to the virtual world, where they are exposed to social comparison, to cyberbullying, and that's where we are. We rewired our children's brains. Because where do we learn all these skills of how to resolve conflicts, how to take small risks, how to grow, if not playing unsupervised outside? That's a laboratory that we rob them of it. The way that Haidt suggests to understand the phenomena now is to say that our society shifted from curiosity, from discover mode to defend mode. Discover mode, we feel safe. We're curious. We're open. We want to learn, to explore. That's where we used to be. Defend mode, where we are right now, we feel that the world is unsafe. We feel threatened. So we build fortresses drawbridges up. We're safe over there physically, but we miss so much. There are many scholars today who argue that the reason the Judaism or the Jewish people succeeded was because they were constantly in the discovery mode. Because we were forced to live at the crossroad of civilizations. We were exiled from our place. So we lived under the Greeks and the Romans, and before that, the Babylonians and the Persians, the Christians, the Muslims. And we learned, and we adopted, and we enriched our culture. And that's why we're quite successful. Not because of our isolation, but because our openness to the world around us. The greatest Jewish philosopher ever is Maimonides. Almost 850 years ago, he wrote The Guide for the Perplexed. And you know what this book is all about? He took the Aristotelian philosophy and combined it with the Torah. Because that's how we grow. But we don't do it anymore. Now, I finished the book, not feeling great, and then I felt even worse. Because I realized that while Jonathan Haidt focused on children, I believe that we adults did exactly the same to ourselves. First, we bubble wrapped ourselves from public conversations, from public discourse. We retreated into echo chambers, protecting ourselves from the danger of other views. And we succumb to the temptation of the virtual world, to the algorithms that keep us angry, outraged, deep in the defend mode. And when we are in this mode, we can understand that violence is not far from us. With the murder of Charlie Kirk about 2 weeks ago, we had one of the most violent years, at least since '68. There were 2 attempts on the life of President Trump, an arson attack on the residence on Pennsylvania governor, a murder of a Minnesota legislator, and all that within a year, just to mention a few. How did we shift from writing bad things on Facebook to thousands of assassination attempts? And it's growing exponentially. Our tradition teaches us, Rabbi Hanina, some 2,000 years ago, says, כל המלבין פני חברו ברבים כאילו שופך דמים. Anyone who whitens the face of another person is as though he sheds blood, which means anyone who drains the blood of somebody's face as an act of public shaming, it's like he's killing him. Because why? When we publicly shame a person, we no longer see them as humans, as those who created in the image of God, but as objects of contempt, an obstacle. And when we look at people as objects, violence becomes a much more plausible way to deal with them. So what are we to do? The father of the Jewish nation is Abraham. He's also the father of Christianity and Islam, therefore the Abraham Accord that unites everyone together, at least members of the three religions. The Torah tells us that one day Abraham was sitting outside his tent and he saw three strangers. If he were in defend mode, he would have called security, he would have called the police, his people but no. What did he do? Vayarotz likratam. He ran toward them and invited them to his tent. He didn't lock the flaps of his tent. He opened them to include them. We are the people of Abraham because we are the people of discovery, of exploring, of learning. And how do we do it? The Talmud tells us that there are two kinds of arguments. One kind of argument is just to humiliate, to destroy your opponent. This is like the story of Korach. But they talk about arguments for the sake of heaven. And as an example, they bring the constant arguments between Hillel and Shammai. These two giant rabbis of the first century couldn't stop arguing. They didn't agree on anything. And not only them, their academies couldn't agree on anything. For example, Beth Shammai said that on Hanukkah we should start by lighting 8 candles, and every night we track 1. Hillel said no, we start with 1 and we add. We follow the house of Hillel. We normally follow the house of Hillel. And why is that? The Talmud says it's brilliant. Listen to that. Because in the Academy of Hillel, before they express their own opinion, they express the opinion of Shammai. Shammai says that and that, but we think when you begin your argument referring to the other person, you cannot turn them into an object. You show them respect. And therefore, most of the laws were ruled according to the house of Hillel. We're in trouble here. Because we don't have argument for the sake of heaven. We don't argue to persuade anyone. We argue to hurt. We don't try to clarify. We demonize the others. Is there hope? I believe so. It has to start small. And we started it a few months ago. When we read the headlines about starvation in Gaza, what was going on there, I decided to try something because I needed it personally. I invited you to come for an open discussion, a roundtable discussion, just to talk about it freely, without judgment. Just to say what's on your mind, what's in your heart, how you see this extremely difficult situation. 91 of you showed up. You didn't have time to prepare, but you showed up. And I think it was the best discussion I've ever been to. Because people spoke the truth, and people listened with respect, even when they heard things that upset them. Because this was an argument for the sake of heaven. We came to talk, but we came to listen, to learn, and never forgot for a second that we are one community. The reason that kids today, one of the reasons, don't play outside, and we used to be outside all the time, is because the social contract among people broke. I'll give you an example about children. In the past, When children were out, parents felt safe because there was this agreement, unwritten agreement, understanding that all the adults around supervised them. If you saw a kid in trouble, you would not hesitate, you would run and help. When you saw a kid trying to climb up a dangerous wall or making noise in a public space, you would reprimand them, knowing that the parents will be grateful. But today, when you see a kid in distress, you hesitate. Will they think I'm a creep? Will the parents be angry with me? So this social contract that we took for granted for most of our lives broke. And we have to rebuild it. My commitment to you that this roundtable discussion we had, I think last month, will repeat on a regular basis here at Temple Beth as a model to strengthen this social contract, to learn to argue for the sake of heaven with respect. Let me end with a short prayer for us. In the year to come, may we be blessed with the holy courage of our father Abraham, the courage not to pull the tent flaps closed, the courage not to pull the tent flaps closed when the world feels dangerous, but to run towards the difficult conversations, choosing curiosity over the false comfort of our echo chambers. And may we be blessed with the patient wisdom of Hillel, the wisdom not to merely wait for our turn to speak, but to truly listen with an open heart, seeking the humanity and the spark of the divine in those with whom we most passionately disagree. With this courage and this wisdom, may we build not a fortress against the world, but a true sanctuary of understanding. A place where disagreement does not turn into contempt, where our arguments can truly be for the sake of heaven, and where our souls, not just our opinions, are safe. May this holy work be our purpose in a new year, as we all say, Amen.